Hello and welcome to the Darth Magog channel. I'm your host, the Dark Lord of the Apostates, Darth Magog. And, as you know, I'm a former Jehovah's Witness. So needless to say, I have plenty of honest criticism of the religion. But what you may not know is, not all of it is bad. Very uncommon, I know, but as much as we like to criticize the Watchtower's practices around abuse, biblical doctrine, and just everyday life, not everything was bad at the Old Kingdom Hall. So much so that I decided to take a look at the best and worst parts of being a Jehovah's Witness, and I'll be sharing that with you today. We would be honored if you would join us. Before we get started, I do have some caveats to review. Number 1, this is a list of the best things and the things I personally hated about being a Jehovah's Witness. Fellow XJWs will have some overlap, I'm certain, but their lists will be different. I encourage you all to discuss those differences in the comments down below. Number 2, the hatred list are just things I've experienced, backed up with official JW.org doctrine to demonstrate their universality. While I have a deep, searing hatred for spousal abuse, CSA, and the blood doctrine, I was lucky enough not to have experienced any of that myself in the religion. Though I experienced my fair share of abuses and victimization under the religion, those 3 specific things were mercifully excluded from my upbringing. This doesn't make them less problematic, but they just won't be on my specific list today. Those would go on the most problematic parts of being a Jehovah's Witness video, perhaps in the future. Without further ado, let's start our list with number 5 best. This is most likely a benefit of being a family friend to the presiding overseer, but in my experience, going to another area with Jehovah's Witnesses present was actually pretty cool. It was lovely instantly having someone who was going to be warm, welcoming, and kind no matter where you went. Granted, that's because it's an order and a cultural expectation of the religion, but there are advantages. And you usually know where you fit in the community, as opposed to going to a new school or starting a new job. You knew that you'd find someone with at least one thing in common with you. It was just your religion, but it was something, and you could always build from there. The new personality, according to the March 2022 Watchtower, is a way of thinking and acting that reflects Jehovah's personality. Right off the bat, some people are going to assume this is a creepy, brainwashing cult tactic. And well, I suppose it depends on what you think of further explanations of that. It mostly involves separating yourself from the life you lived before you became a Jehovah's Witness, if you did at all, and conforming to their standards. This includes things like being kind, being peaceful, and having self-control, which is good. This also includes believing and practicing other common Jehovah's Witness teachings, like a rejection of homosexuality, embracing the two-witness rule, even in criminal cases, and of course rejecting close association, if any at all, with anyone who doesn't hold true to these exact principles. That's a bit more harmful. And the thing that really got bad about the new personality wasn't so much that you were asked to change yours. It was that you were constantly asked the phrase "continue putting on the new personality," like you could never fully accomplish it. It was disheartening at best and exhausting at worst when you discovered that no matter how hard you worked at being a better person, you never actually made any progress. Granted, we do want to learn and work hard at being better people on a daily basis, but this religion made it a thankless and fruitless chore 9 times out of 10, more than qualifying it as one of the worst aspects of living in Jehovah's Witness culture. I hope you had this at your congregation, because this was one of the only casual social outlets that were Watchtower approved. Gatherings were a general term for Jehovah's Witness parties. They usually consisted of eating, drinking, and, I guess, singing and gossiping depending on your particular congregation. My personal favorite was Goodie Night. That was a sort of potluck that we did after the book study, where we'd have sodas and all sorts of little appetizers and treats. Cookies, bacon-wrapped jalapeno bites. There was always a sister that baked a cake, since our presiding overseer really loved chocolate cake. Didn't matter much what you brought, just as long as you were kind and positive. There aren't a lot of recreation or social outlets in the religion, so even this sliver of normalcy wrote a positive page in my JW memory book. The prohibition on holidays and birthdays in JW culture is a famous one even in the mainstream. Well, more accurately, if you've ever had a JW classmate or coworker, then you know they don't do Halloween parties, singing happy birthday, or celebrate Christmas. But what makes this experience one of the worst in Jehovah's Witnesses is that you're forbidden from celebrating any holiday. You have almost no cultural celebrations, and pretty much nothing about your JW heritage is interesting or enriching. There's no traditional instruments, no cultural dishes, or any festive decorations to enjoy. In fact, if a holiday-themed television special or song came across your TV or radio, you were expected to change the channel, or better yet, just turn the whole thing off. Beyond that is social isolation. Being forced to sit out in the library or hall during a Valentine's Day, Christmas, St. Patrick's Day, New Year's, or even Mother's Day celebration is pretty disheartening in public school. But the worst part is when you generally don't understand why. The main reasons the Jehovah's Witnesses cite for their prohibition on holidays and birthdays is false worship, superstition, and a lack of biblical backing, according to the JW.org article, Why Don't Jehovah's Witnesses Celebrate Certain Holidays? The article title could be easily amended to Why Don't Jehovah's Witnesses Celebrate? Because growing up in the religion, there was nothing to look forward to. Unless you especially enjoyed being in windowless kingdom halls or equally windowless assembly halls on weekends on end, you didn't really celebrate assemblies or conventions. And the only official JW holiday, the memorial of Christ's death, is just halfway between Passover and Easter without the decorations of music. Unless you're a member of the secret invisibly selected anointed class, you don't even get to eat or drink the bread and wine. The whole ritual is quickly and carefully passing it down the aisle. I could go on, but I think I've said enough to cement this on our list of the worst. Your mileage may vary with this one, but I actually didn't mind the field ministry. You can call this a testament to how sheltered and deprived we were growing up as JW kids, but it was nice to spend a few hours outside and interacting with people, even if it was trying to sell a mildly modified non-Trinitarian Christian belief system to people who already had one. It was more the fact that I had some one-on-one time with other members of the congregation and could get to know them better. One brother taught me how to navigate via street signs and numbers, and I got to practice Spanish with a few of our sisters, so that was pretty neat. Also, in a small way, eventually it taught me how to deal with rejection, which translated to me getting a job in sales as my first job. It took longer for me to apply that lesson to romance, but it got there eventually. It was even kinda cool sitting in on Bible studies and return visits, because the adults who were willing to study with Jehovah's Witnesses tended to appreciate young men and women such as myself taking an interest in what they called Bible scholarship. If only they knew. This is directly contrary to a few of the best points I've listed prior, but social isolation was real with Jehovah's Witnesses. Factoring in everything, we really only spent about 15 to 25 hours of scheduled social activity a week with Jehovah's Witnesses. And that, for the most part, was sitting quietly and listening to talks in groups of varying sizes. So unless there was a barbecue, goodie night, or any other special gathering, there wasn't much social activity. Our parents were inactive and my siblings weren't nearly as interested in spiritual things, so we did our study independently at different levels. There weren't a lot of kids our age, and we didn't have much in common with the kids that were, with a couple of notable exceptions. So even Watchtower approved normal kid stuff was limited. The religion has a hard line with bad association. In short, meaning you'd only keep company with people who not only believe in Jehovah, but also keep his teachings. So this puts a hard limit on who you can hang out with. If your classmates, neighbors, or workmates aren't active Jehovah's Witnesses, you don't get to visit with them aside from to preach or to just get things done. And given that the Jehovah's Witness population is at its highest ever, 8 million worldwide, your pool of potential friends is going to be very limited in your locality, and that's if you take everyone as a potential friend. Don't forget, age groups in the population aren't exactly a Gaussian distribution. It tends to be much heavier on the older side than the younger side of the bell curve. That's part of the reason they seem to be struggling finding qualified young brothers to take leadership roles in the congregation. Speaking of young brothers, if you're a young sister, don't expect too many of those to date. The religion is overwhelmingly female at a roughly 2-to-1 ratio, and given the cultural advice to 1, only marry within the organization, and 2, only those with good spiritual standing, the competition is fierce. I suspect the Watchtower is aware of the disparity because there's a number of Watchtower and other publications that work around either being lonely, single, or both and how to enjoy it. Spoiler warning, they all recommend you do more Bible study, preaching, and volunteering for the society. This is a point exclusive to young men while they were in the congregation, but I did appreciate having congregation privileges. Jehovah's Witnesses really do a great job of selling this volunteer work as a good thing. What roped me into it as a kid was watching other kids run mics and give talks. And when I got to, it was empowering. I had parts and presentations, had control of the audio, did ordering, and most importantly, I felt important. Serving in the congregation as a ministerial servant, elder, or even a baptized young brother who helps run mics and give Bible readings is considered a leadership role, and can help boys and young men feel more confident in themselves. I tended to get a lot of positive feedback, and it was one of the few self-esteem building interactions that I'd get in the religion. Getting appointed as a ministerial servant, which would be the JW equivalent of a deacon, or the Jedi equivalent to a Jedi Knight, was a high point for me, since it meant more attention from everyone in the congregation when I was at my loneliest. Needless to say, that's why it sticks as a favorite page in the JW memory book. Also known as snitching culture, Jehovah's Witnesses are admonished to stick around and monitor the behavior of one another. The goal is to prevent sin from entering into the congregation in an attempt to protect it from the corruption of bad association. Meaning, if someone is observed smoking or drinking to excess, they're encouraged to reach out to other believing family members and elders in hopes of bringing people back on the right path. In practice, it tends to feel like hovering and obsessive watching. This obsession tends to result in gossip and intrusive questions. To counteract this, the organization has consistently written articles about gossip, but given the repetition, it's clear that the problem's never been resolved. The organization also acknowledges that gossip tends to lead to rumors, which tend to spread like wildfire. Given the lack of other social activities, gossip is the leading selection in Jehovah's Witnesses. Before we get to the best part of being a Jehovah's Witness, here's an honorable mention that didn't quite make the best list. Yeah, you don't make a lot of money as a Jehovah's Witness, and the holidays can get expensive. Food, travel, gifts, decoration, etc. Holidays don't have to be celebrated like that, but they often tend to be, so skipping many holidays and birthdays probably saved me a good chunk of change. Nothing else special there, just worth noting. I know what you're thinking. Darth, that was a boring midweek meeting that interrupted your homework and rest schedule. And you will be correct. But what made it special was the life skills I learned. Benefit from the Theocratic Ministry School is a pretty good beginner's public speaking book when you tear away the Jehovah's Witness rhetoric. The theory is that it will make you brave and bold like Bible heroes, including Moses, Paul, Philip, and Israelite girl. Yeah, that's a female representation. I mean, I know Esther is on the page too, but really, we didn't want to put in Miriam. Anyway, you can certainly learn these skills in other books and classes, but I utterly dominated my first 2 public speaking courses in college, in part thanks to this book. It's another one of the few things I'm sad they discontinued, because everyone did benefit from the TMS. Boys and men more than girls and women, but I digress. In the same way that Anakin's Jedi Top Form 5 lightsaber combat made Darth Vader one of the most efficient Jedi killers of all time, the Theocratic Ministry School made me a much more effective anti-JW speaker as Darth Magog. And of course, let's visit the other half of the list. Here's a dishonorable mention that wasn't quite good enough to make the worst of being a Jehovah's Witness. One thing that's troubling, especially as a young adult, is preparing for your future. And if you want to do anything that requires college, prepare for ridicule. The October 1st Watchtower tears apart college, describing it as an environment rampant with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Which, man, I wish that was true. Instead, Jehovah's Witnesses are encouraged to work only enough to pay bills with low-level careers that don't require a degree. Admonished to live a simple life so they can pursue the kingdom. This, of course, results in a much less comfortable life, making it difficult to save money and pay bills on low salary and low hours, directly impacting the living and well-being of members who heed this advice. The reason I didn't put it at the top of the list was because Watchtower does make an exception for vocational schools, which are cheaper, faster alternatives to college for legitimate, honest careers. That's a silver lining, I suppose. If I had to pick literally one thing that took me out of Jehovah's Witnesses over all else, it had to be this. The constant, encouraged exhaustion that is the preaching work. Jehovah's Witnesses are always admonished to give their first fruits to Jehovah, to reach out, to simplify their lives, all with the intention to volunteer more of their time to the organization. You're mandated to go to several meetings during the week and on weekends, then preach door to door, then to manage your family's worship, then to manage your own independent worship, and that's just as a rank-and-file member. Pioneers are expected to put in at least a part-time job's worth of door-to-door preaching work for a week, on top of their normal theocratic schedule. Ministerial servants and elders arrive to the meetings early, stay late, maintain equipment, balance books, keep records, and conduct meetings. Then there's the weekly Kingdom Hall cleanings for everyone. And beyond that, you're encouraged to reach out where the need is greater. Perhaps become a special pioneer who travels to preach, or a missionary who goes the world over to preach, or on a regional building committee where you'll build kingdom halls and branch offices for the Watchtower organization. But if you're really faithful, committed, and dedicated, you may be chosen to serve at Bethel. There, you'll work a legitimate job, whether it be animation, printing, janitorial, or what have you, full-time at the Watchtower, along with your normal meeting schedule and full-time ministry requirements, that is. And all of this work is for the whopping salary of $0. I repeat, $0.00 a month. In fact, you're expected to donate to the organization within your means. In the Watchtower's defense, they do call this volunteer work, and they do offer a very modest monthly stipend to their full-time Bethel volunteers, or as they call them, servants. But otherwise, most anything you commit to the organization will be on your dime, or dependent on the means and kindness of your fellow Jehovah's Witnesses. To quote Romans chapter 12 verse 11, "Be industrious, not lazy, be aglow with the Spirit, slave for Jehovah." And yes, they mean slave for Jehovah, literally. And if you've chosen not to be this spiritually glowing slave, then you're no better than the worldly people who the organization looks down upon. In fact, you're worse. You're at best bad association, but some may consider you an apostate. To paraphrase reasoning from the scriptures, a deserter of worship in service to God, actually a rebel against Jehovah God, better known as the mentally diseased. Combine that with the fact that they've been preaching the same message since 1870, that the world would end in 1878, 1881, 1914, 1915, 1918, 1925, 1975, and by the year 2000 and a few other miscellaneous dates that I probably missed. With all that added value, it's no question that the physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion that comes with being one of Jehovah's Witnesses is the most universal worst part of the religion. And there you have it, my XJW agents, Darth Magog's best and worst parts of being a Jehovah's Witness. But what do you think? We'd love to read your thoughts in the comment section down below. Share your top 5 if you've got it. Otherwise, remember XJW agents, the elders may be watching you, but Darth Magog is watching the Watchtower.